Let me tell you about the most embarrassing 4 seconds of my adult life. I was walking into a crowded coffee shop, holding my drink, feeling reasonably good about the world, and I completely ate it, tripped over absolutely nothing, stumbled forward, and threw my iced coffee across a good portion of the floor in front of what felt like 200 people. And in that instant, I was certain, absolutely certain, that every single person in that room had seen it, was silently judging me, and would remember me forever as the guy who fell. I replayed it in bed that night. I replayed it for days. And I do mean replayed. For about a week, at random moments, my brain would helpfully cue the whole thing back up in full cinematic detail. The stumble, the slow arc of the ice cubes through the air, the imagined faces of 100 strangers all thinking the exact same withering thought about me. I genuinely lost sleep over 4 seconds that, to everyone else in that room, were about as memorable as a passing car. So here's the question that changed how I think about all of it. How many of those people actually still remember me falling? The answer is almost none. Probably zero. And the reason why is one of the most freeing things you can ever understand about your own mind. Because you do this too, constantly. You send a slightly awkward text, and you are sure the other person is reading deeply into it. You say one clumsy thing in a meeting, and you are convinced everyone is quietly thinking less of you. You wear the wrong outfit, or your voice cracks, or you wave at someone who is not waving at you. And it feels like the whole world just witnessed your humiliation in high definition. There is a name for this, and once you know it, that crushing feeling of being watched loosens its grip. It is called the spotlight effect. And the core of it is simple and a little humbling. You dramatically, wildly overestimate how much other people notice you at all. Psychologists actually measured this in a study that is almost too perfect. They took a group of students and made one of them put on a genuinely embarrassing t-shirt, a big goofy one nobody would want to be seen in, and walk into a room full of other people. Then they asked that student to guess how many people in the room had noticed the shirt. On average, the students guessed that around half the room had clocked it. Half. They were bracing for a room full of judgment. But when the researchers actually asked the other people, the real number who noticed was a small fraction of that, closer to a quarter, and often fewer. Most people had not registered the shirt at all. The wearer felt like they were under a blazing spotlight. In reality, the spotlight was mostly in their own head. And there is a reason your brain is wired to feel that spotlight so intensely, even though it is mostly false. For almost all of human history, what other people thought of you genuinely mattered for survival. Being judged, rejected, or cast out of your small group was a real danger. So your brain evolved to care enormously about how you are being perceived, to monitor it constantly, to assume the worst, and play it safe. That ancient alarm is still running at full volume. In a modern world full of strangers you will never see again, treating a spilled coffee like a threat to your standing in the tribe. It is not that you are vain, or broken, or hopelessly insecure. Your brain is just running very old, very cautious social software in a situation it was never designed for. And once you understand why that happens, it becomes obvious. Think about your own experience for a second. You are the absolute center of your own world. You are the main character of every scene you are in, the one constant across your entire life, the star of the only movie you have ever actually watched from the inside. So of course, when something happens to you, it feels enormous and glaringly obvious, because to you, it is. The problem is that your brain then quietly assumes everyone else is watching the same movie, with you at the center of it, but they are not. They are each starring in their own movie with themselves at the center, and in their film, you are, at most, a background extra who wandered through one shot. That is the part that really lands when you sit with it. The reason nobody is paying that much attention to your embarrassing moment is not that they are kind or polite or looking away. It is that they are far too busy being the self-conscious star of their own life to spare much attention for yours. That person you were sure is judging your outfit, they are worried about their own outfit. That coworker you think noticed your dumb comment, they are replaying their own dumb comment from earlier. Everyone is walking around under their own private spotlight, convinced they are the one being watched, which means almost nobody has any spotlight left over to shine on you. It is a room full of people all performing for an audience that is not actually watching, because everyone is on stage. Picture a whole theater where every single seat is empty, because every person who would have been in the audience is up on their own stage instead, spotlit, nervous, performing, and squinting out at what they are sure is a packed crowd judging them. That is basically every room you have ever walked into. A hall of mirrors, everyone convinced they are the one being watched, and almost nobody actually watching anyone else at all. And this is genuinely why I make this channel. So a quick thing. If you like having these invisible weights lifted off you like this, take 1 second and subscribe. It is the whole point of what we do here. Okay, Because there is an even deeper layer to this, one that makes it more freeing still. It is not just that people do not notice your actions as much as you think. They also cannot see your feelings nearly as clearly as you believe they can. There is a close cousin to the spotlight effect that psychologists call the illusion of transparency. And it is this. When you feel something intensely on the inside, nervous, anxious, embarrassed, you become convinced it is written all over your face, obvious to everyone. You give a presentation with your heart hammering, and you are sure the whole room can see you shaking. You feel a wave of awkwardness, and you are certain it is radiating off you like heat. But study after study shows the same thing. Your inner turmoil is far less visible than it feels. That nervousness that feels like a flashing neon sign to you is, to everyone else, usually invisible, or at most, a slight, unremarkable stiffness they forget in seconds. You are experiencing the full, deafening volume of your own feelings and assuming everyone else can hear it too. They cannot. They're getting the quiet, muffled version if they notice at all. I felt this one hard the first time I ever had to speak in front of a big group. My heart was going so hard that I was genuinely convinced the people in the front row could see my shirt moving with it. Afterward, still shaky, I asked a friend who had been sitting right there how obviously nervous I had looked. He had not noticed anything at all. To me, it had been a 5-alarm internal fire. To the room, it was just a guy giving a talk. The gap between those two things was enormous, and every bit of it was sealed up inside my own skin, invisible from the outside. Now, I want to be honest and not oversell this, because there is a real trap in going too far the other way. This does not mean nobody ever notices anything, or that other people do not matter, or that you can behave terribly and no one will care. People do notice genuine, repeated, meaningful things. The point is much more specific than that. It is that the small, mortifying, self-conscious moments, the trip, the stammer, the awkward text, the bad hair day, the thing you will replay in bed at 2 a.m., land on other people at a tiny fraction of the intensity you feel them. You are grading your worst moments on a brutal curve that literally no one else is using. So let me bring this back to that coffee shop floor. The truth is that the handful of people who did glance up when I felt at most a flicker of that secondhand cringe we all get, and then went right back to their own lives, their own worries, their own private spotlights, and forgot me entirely within about a minute. The only person who kept me in that room, falling over and over for days, was me. I was the entire audience for my own humiliation. And you are the entire audience for yours. And here's what I really want you to take from this. That feeling of being watched and judged, the one that makes you shrink, second guess, and hold yourself back, is built almost entirely out of an illusion. The crowd you are so afraid of disappointing is not actually watching. They are looking at themselves, which means the freedom this gives you is real and usable. You can wear the thing. You can raise your hand and ask the question. You can dance a little badly at the wedding, send the slightly vulnerable text, walk into the room like you belong there. Because the packed, judgmental audience you have been performing for and terrified of mostly does not exist. There is no spotlight. Or rather, there is, but you are the only one holding it, and you get to decide whether to point it at your worst 4 seconds or just finally put it down. There is even a small practical trick buried in here for the next time that watched feeling hits hard. When you catch yourself absolutely certain that everyone is staring and judging, just ask yourself one honest question. When was the last time you spent even 30 seconds genuinely judging a stranger for tripping or stammering or wearing something a little odd? You almost certainly cannot remember because you did not. You felt a flicker of basically nothing and moved right on thinking about yourself, exactly the way everyone around you is doing about you right now. That blank memory is your proof. You extend that easy grace to strangers automatically without even trying. They are extending the exact same grace right back to you. And there is a kind of quiet gift hiding in this too. Because if everyone around you is secretly walking under their own harsh spotlight, convinced they are being judged, then your kindness, a small reassurance, a warm word, we have all been there, lands on people who desperately needed it and were sure they were the only one. You are not the only one performing for an empty theater. You are surrounded by people doing the exact same thing, all of them a little scared, all of them sure the light is on them. You can be the person who quietly turns their light down for someone else. It is a quietly powerful thing to walk around actually knowing. Nearly everyone you pass today is a little more nervous, a little more self-conscious, a little more certain they are the one being judged than they will ever once let on. So tell me down in the comments, because I know everyone has one of these. What is the moment you are convinced a whole room saw and still judges you for? The fall, the wrong name, the spinach in your teeth. And be honest, do you actually think anyone else remembers it? Tell me below. And if you want another one of these truths about the mind quietly running your life, go watch the one on why your brain replays your most embarrassing memories at 3 a.m. because it is the exact same trick, your own private spotlight, refusing to switch off. I'll see you over there, and go easy on yourself. Nobody saw, I promise.